Okay. I'll start over again. We ready? Are we on? Is this thing on? Welcome to the January 10th, 2022 meeting of the Sickle Mountain Town Council. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We'll have an invocation now and then do the roll call. Okay. Who do we have doing the roll call? Mr. Moore. Okay. Who do we have the roll call?
Mayor Murdoch.
Here.
Councilmember Gardner.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Mayor Poss.
Here. Thank you. We have no minutes to approve, so we will move on right on to citizens' opportunity to address the council. Do we have anybody here who wishes to address the council? Mr. Graham, if you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Dick Graham. I'm at 405 James Boulevard. And I just wanted to give you a quick update on the MACC, what's been happening there. I think we're all glad Christmas is over. And it's like they started de-Christmasing the MACC today, putting everything away. So before we know it, it'll be back again, I'm sure, though. I'm not sure if I mentioned, if we knew this at the last council meeting. I don't even remember when your last council meeting was. I know you missed one in December, but we got a grant, a matching grant. Did I mention that last time? You all know about that? Okay. So I won't go over all that again. But we're halfway there to the 15,000 that we have to raise. Actually a little bit over the halfway mark. So for a month into fundraising, that we consider that doing pretty well. So we've got another 2 months. We have till March 8th to raise our 15,000 to get the matching 15. And so I'll put a plug in. Anybody out there listening that wants to donate, it is tax deductible, and every dollar you give us, we get an extra dollar from the matching grant. So it's really a great benefit to everybody. The Playhouse will start their play in February. They're in practice and set building right now. It'll start on February the 11th, and then will be every Friday and Saturday from then on through February. Along with that, we're going to have an art exhibit in the MACC. It's the work of Joel Baxley. I don't know if any of you know him. He passed away recently, and his wife contacted us about possibly having an exhibit there. So we thought that was a good thing to have, maybe at the same time that the Playhouse is having the play. So we'll have the opening night of the exhibit the same night as the opening night of the play on February 11th. And then it will be there throughout the month of February for anybody who wants to come at any time to go in and see it, but especially during the play time. It'll be open a few hours before the play starts for anybody to come by. The Briars, who have played at the MACC several times over the last few months, will be back again in March. And the symphony, we don't have a date yet for the symphony, but sometime in March, the Wind Quintet will be playing at the MACC. And they offer this to us for free. And we can't charge by their rules for admission to it, but if anybody wants to throw some money in the donation bucket when they get there, that works for us, since it doesn't cost us anything to have them come. So that's all I've got right now. Any questions anybody have?
Anyone?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the update. All right, do we have anybody else who wishes to address council? All right, Now, the next item on the agenda is an update on the Old Town Sidewalk project by ASA Engineering. Thank you for coming tonight.
Yes, sir.
And what is your name?
Chris Davis.
I should know that because you've been here before.
That's quite all right. I handed out, or Mr. Loretta handed out a timeline from just a little before I was here last time. And the nuts and bolts of it is, since we met last time, I did receive more comments from TDOT. And those comments were from Region 2, which is the local office there. And those comments were not like nuts and bolts of add a handicap ramp here, do this, do that. It was more, why don't you put the sidewalk on this road instead of this one, and over here on this side of the road instead of that side of the road, and that kind of thing. So I took a little bit, but I found out exactly who at Region 2 made those comments. I talked with him about it, and then I talked with Loretta about it, and then I talked with TDOT local programs people about it. And what it boils down to, I found out today that we can't really, even if it is a good idea to add this other road or move the sidewalk from one side of the road to the other, we can't really do that because the NEPA document that was approved would have to be altered, and that would be a big drag on the schedule, because you would have to go back through, you'd have to do a NEPA revision, and logical termini of the sidewalk would have to be reviewed by them and everything. So not to mention that it would be extra work, but mainly it would be extra time for the NEPA process to be drugged back up again. And so I just today, after talking with Loretta, I commented back to them and said that some of these might be good ideas, and maybe the town of Signal Mountain will add these to the next project down the road, but we can't do it in this project because of the NEPA document. But there were a few other comments that we can do, and I spelled that out in there. So where we are in the process now is I have to finish the rest of his comments and get those turned back in, and they have to be approved. The last, maybe the next to last paragraph on here is not good news. It's TDOT in years past on a sidewalk project, they would, and last time we spoke, I was speaking along these lines that they would let us go ahead and start right-of-way acquisition once everything was set in place as far as the preliminary plans, and we knew where slopes were falling out, we knew where sidewalks were going to be, but now TDOT doesn't do that. They make you do it just like as if it was a roadway plan, where you have to have approved preliminary plans, and then you send them a preliminary right-of-way plan. And then they approve it, then you send them the final right-of-way plans, which are not much different than the preliminary right-of-way plans. And then they can give you the notice to proceed with the right-of-way acquisition at that point. So it's not any additional work on our part, but the problem is schedule-wise, because we could have been finishing up the plans while they were buying the right-of-way, because it'll probably take them a year to buy all that right-of-way and easements and things. So now we're going to have to do that work up front, and then there'll still be some things that we can do during that time, like cost estimates and quantities and permits and things like that. But anyway, the bad news is the schedule is is not is not as good as it was.
Right, okay.
And
Do you have a completion date estimate or a start?
well, I would, I believe I can have the rest of these changes done in, I'm going to say 6 weeks, and have them to them, and then they can respond back to that, whether they approve it or not. And if they do, then I can submit right-of-way plans, and so I can produce right-of-way plans and then submit them. And some of the, and really a lot of the right-of-way plans, we can be working on those while they're reviewing the preliminary plans, because the big thing in that is drainage, and but the biggest thing is right-of-way and utilities, and we know where that's going to be now, so we can go ahead and be getting deeds for all those different things, and putting that basically an acquisition table on there that you're getting like so many square feet from property owner one, so many square feet from property owner two, like that. So, and that all that is in the process of being done now, and so it doesn't have to be held up waiting on preliminary plans.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I just kind of want to go back to the timeline, like, because it seems to be pushed. And I know that this is something that's somewhat fluid. So we're talking about estimated timelines, and I do understand that. So right now you're in a 2-week waiting period on the comments, correct?
It's not necessarily 2
Or
weeks.
approximately.
But yeah.
Okay, and then you'll go into the preliminary right-of-way plan
Well,
and submit that? Is that?
first I have to submit the preliminary plans, to try to get them the final preliminary plans with all of their comments. And I said in probably 6 weeks I can have all of those done.
Okay.
And to them.
So then 6 weeks for the commenting section, or
For me
portion. Okay.
to have completed all of their comments and give it back to them. And
Okay.
then it will take, best case, 6 more weeks for them to all the different departments look at it and say, we agree with that. And then
Okay, so then,
them give us the authorization to proceed to do the right-of-way plans.
and so that, then you go into the right-of-way plans, and then you submit the preliminary right-of-way plans,
Yes.
and then TDOT answers? Or
They give us any comments they have on the preliminary right-of-way plans, and
Okay,
then we can submit the final right-of-way plans.
okay, so
How long does
then,
it take to develop the right-of-way plan? Sorry to interrupt you. Like from that, so you've got the 6 weeks to do the preliminary plans, then 6 weeks approximately, and then after that, you said you do,
Yeah, it's probably about a 3-month process.
okay.
and I'm sorry, to circle back around this, I want to make sure that I'm understanding this, because this is something we get a lot of questions about.
Yeah,
So I'm going to go back to where we are now. So we have
Okay.
6 weeks for you
6 weeks to
to,
submit
for you to
the
submit,
next submittal.
and then
And then,
6
and
weeks.
then say another 6 weeks for them to
Okay.
answer me and say that they're okay with it.
Okay, and then is it about another additional 6 weeks before you submit the preliminary right-of-way plan?
That's the 3 months.
Okay, so then it's 3 months to the preliminary plan.
Yeah.
And then we go through this commenting procedure again, or process again,
Yes.
which might be another 12 weeks?
Yes,
Okay. And then after that 12-week
I
period.
should be writing all this down too, but.
I'll share
It's
my notes.
recorded. You can go back and listen to it.
I can share my notes.
Okay.
And then you submit the final right-of-way plan.
Yes.
And then after that, then TDOT goes and starts the purchasing of those right-of-ways.
Well, TDOT gives the city the okay to
Okay.
purchase those.
Okay, so then we get the okay, and then it takes about a year to purchase.
That would be my estimate, because there's about 100 properties
Okay.
on all of these, and the great majority of them don't require right-of-way acquisition, but
Work start on the properties that don't require acquisition, or?
well, they won't let you start any of it until it's all.
And why is there so much right-of-way acquisition? Is it because we're moving from one side of the street to the other, or is it just to
No,
get the right
it's-
grade and all that?
Well, the great majority of it doesn't actually have true right-of-way acquisition to where the sidewalk is going to be outside the existing right-of-way. There's not a lot of cases like that unless for some reason the right-of-way is real close to the edge of the road and we needed that room. The majority of it is because of the slope is going to require us to slope down to hit the existing ground, like the grade slopes away from the road now, and we're building a 5-foot sidewalk out here, and so we've got to slope down, and so we have to work out in that area that's not within the right of way. And so if it's a permanent slope, then it's a permanent easement that goes through there called a slope easement. But if it's an area where the contractor needs to be able to work back in there, but there's not really anything permanent back there, he just needs to be able to get his skid steer loader back there to load something up, then much of the route, we have a construction easement of a few feet through there for the contractor to work in, to where he's allowed to work in there, but it's not a permanent easement. It just lasts long enough to build the job.
And we're not at risk of running out of any time on our grant, are we?
That would be a question I'm not really prepared to answer. But I know the NEPA process took so long that it was already extended once. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll have to check on what the exact timeline is now for the grants and understand
Okay.
Thank you.
You also, this is just educating somebody completely ignorant on it. You did mention some, I can't remember if it was, the NEPA plan has us moving things across the street, or if, I guess TDOT wanted us to move it across the street and it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
Why would we move it and need to do a new right of way? That just seems like a more.
Well, the NEPA process is basically an environmental document that was done first thing that the cultural professionals decided that this project could be done based on the plans that we gave them, based on the architecture of the area and lots of things. And they look at in not just the cultural environment, but also the biological environment and all things environmental and social justice and all of those things. And so that document took forever to get approved, but because it has to go to the feds, it has to go to TDOT, and then they all have their input. But it is approved at this point, but everywhere where we showed sidewalk in that plan is, it's okay for us to build sidewalk there. But if we add another road or move the sidewalk from one side of the street to the other side of the street, they won't allow us to do that. And the engineer, the local engineer, I don't know if he just didn't think that through or what, when he suggested that we do that, but.
They're aware there's an existing sidewalk, correct?
Yeah, I mean, he,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I suppose some of the places, maybe a sidewalk would be better off on the other side of the road than where it is.
Yeah, I mean, there are.
Yeah, that's another right of way.
But yeah, we're not doing that, so.
Right. One of the places that he wanted to add sidewalk, the one that was the biggest change was adding about 700 feet of sidewalk down Signal Point Road, which we talked it over with Loretta, and it sounded like a good idea, but it wasn't in that original plan, so they won't let us do it. And another one, I don't recall the street, but there was one toward the, well, one that I do recall, there were two, but I can't remember what the other one was, but one of them was on Mississippi in the, I think it's still Mississippi, the one-way section that's close to the highway, going down the hill, and there's a little bit of a park on one side of the road and a concrete, or not a concrete, a rock cliff on the other side of the road going up.
Mhm.
And our plan is to have it on the bluff side of the street because of, for one thing, that's where our sidewalk crosses on the intersection before that, and so it's on the right side of the road, and we end on that side of the road. But he thought it would be, and it would be a nice addition to the park to go through the park, but it would be hard to make that ADA compliant, number one, because it's so steep and there's rock outcrops and everything. So, but even if we thought that it was a good idea, we wouldn't have been able to do that because it wasn't in our original plan.
All right,
Okay,
go ahead.
okay. I'm sorry, I'm going to circle back to what I was asking you about before. So it's going to take about a year to do the purchase of the right-of-ways. After that is done, is like at what point do we get the notice to proceed?
With construction.
Yeah. Is that going to be after acquisition?
After acquisition and after approved construction plans, but I can submit construction plans while the acquisition.
Okay.
So
Okay.
hopefully it won't be a big lag between the acquisition being done and getting approved construction plans
Yeah.
to be able to start construction.
And so just looking at dates here, February 2020, it looks like we did an extension on this grant, and it has extended it till March 31st, 2024. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be cutting it close.
Yeah, it does appear to be, because, I mean, if we're looking like at what was proposed when this was extended 2 years
Yeah.
ago, we should be looking at pretty much a notice to proceed this year. And that sounds like that's being pushed off about 18 months,
Well,
or I'll say 14 months. So, and again, I understand why, but just
yeah.
kind of, all right, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right. Next item on the agenda is MTAS, Town Manager Update.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
He's a little taller than me. Okay. So we had a little fun last week. We got to do some interviews together, or you did the interviews. We interviewed 4 candidates. And so what we're doing tonight, what I'm looking for from you is instruction on next steps. So are we moving forward with some of those candidates, bringing them into town? And then we'll go through, once you decide that, who we're bringing in town, then we'll talk about the different options for the interview process while here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to have the discussion first about whether we want to bring anybody. And
Sure.
then.
Yeah, are you
if-
ready to move forward with the candidates we
All right.
have?
Does anybody want to start that discussion? I will if you don't. I think we should bring in at least 1 and up to 3. At least we need to go through this process and make sure that we fully evaluate the candidates. And, if we don't find the right one, obviously we keep looking, but if we do, then we move on that. Does anybody have any?
I agree. I was encouraged with a few of the interviews, and 1 to 3 I think is a good number to bring in and pursue further. It doesn't necessarily mean that we get comfortable with any of those, but
What's worth taking the next step?
yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm comfortable 2 to 3
All right.
candidates.
So we have a consensus, all right,
Yes.
to move forward. And now, who are we going to bring in? And how many, I guess, would be the next question.
Well, I feel like more than 1,
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
at
think
least
so,
2,
too.
at least 2.
2, maybe 3.
Maybe 3, depending on, yeah.
Yeah.
So, looking at fit.
Do we want to go through the people, or how do we
About
decide who to bring
approximately
in?
how much is an additional? Well, I guess it depends on where they're coming from.
Yeah, the cost is going to vary by if they have to fly in. I'm trying to think. There may only be 1 or 2, I guess.
2 are in
might fly
Florida.
in. Yeah. So you might have those costs. If you do the psychological inventory, there's a little more cost. I think I remember estimating what it cost to bring someone in for another city, and they were coming from across the country, and it was no more than $1,000 for everything with that person, and they were flying from the West Coast. But tickets are high right now, so I can't tell you exactly for flights, but yeah.
Okay.
I think if you've got someone that you would consider, I will say that when you bring people in and they go through the different steps of the interview process, sometimes people you think would do really well don't, and sometimes people surprise you. So yeah, I do think the more you add, so if you have 3 versus 2, the less people, the more ways you can test is the wrong word, but put them through scenarios. But 3 is a very manageable number. Usually we have 4, and that's kind of hard to fit in a day, but we can do it. 3 is not that much of a time. We can work with that well.
Okay.
So
I suppose it also depends on how comfortable. I mean, whether we individually feel like 3 is worth it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I could go either way, I think, but
I'm comfortable with 3. I'm
Okay.
certainly set on 2. And if we need to, I'm assuming that we're just talking about these people by name now.
We can, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so, I mean, not that this isn't uncomfortable to do, but if this is the way we have to do it, let's go. So, I mean, I'll start by just saying, I feel strongly that Mr. Morrow and Mr. Hammond need to come in for an interview, for sure. Now, I'm not against a 3rd candidate joining them, but I'll just start the conversation right there and let it for you guys to respond to.
I would agree I really thought Mr. Morrow, well, yeah, I would agree at least on those 2, and maybe the 3rd one as well.
Okay.
So how do we feel, how about I do this? Is everyone comfortable with bringing those 2 in? Does anyone would say no to those two.
I think that would be great.
Ms. Murdoch, how are you?
I'm good with that.
You're okay with those two? Okay, so we've got those two coming in. So is there a third candidate that some would like to bring in?
I'm happy with those two. I think that I'd be very curious to hear what those two have to share with us. But the third one could be fun.
Does anyone want to bring up the third candidate they would bring in
I'm
before I
on the
assume?
fence about
Yeah.
a third. But for me, it would be Mr. Owens, would be the third.
Yeah.
Candidate.
Yeah. I would say that if you can be on the fence, if you feel leaning towards bringing someone in, then I think the cost is not that much to bring them in. And put them through. It also gives you someone else to look at and help you kind of analyze the different strengths of all of them. So I'm not telling you to bring him in, but if you feel more kind of like I'm leaning that way, but I'm not sure. It's totally up to you all, though.
I mean, I'm not against bringing him in. I mean, it was,
If you told, I'll be honest, if you told me to like vote one way or the other right now, I'd probably vote just to do two.
okay. And that's kind of where I'm at.
But if somebody felt strongly to bring three in, I totally would.
Seems that we got three that are saying just two. Is that fair?
And yeah.
How do you feel, Mayor?
I liked Mr. Owens and wouldn't mind getting to know more about him.
I liked him as well.
Why don't we do three? Why don't we do those?
Okay,
I'm
are we comfortable with three?
definitely.
I just
We'll
think
do
this
three.
is, I think it's, not that we're trying to pit them against each other or whatever, but
The more the merrier.
But I just think it's interesting to hear the perspectives that different candidates are bringing to the table, and with such a consequential decision we're making, I think more information maybe is better.
And
I felt like those three were the top candidates.
And I'm fine doing three, and like, I totally understand where you're at and fully support
Yeah.
bringing three in.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so we've got those three candidates coming in.
All right.
Then what I'd like to do is talk through what we would do while they're here and get your okay and my understanding of what we kind of talked about before might be a good place to start. Typically, you would do another group interview if you would like. You have done one group interview, but maybe get into a little bit more detail with them. We would do the assessment center with the panel of city manager professionals. They're looking more at those competencies, remember the characteristics. They're not looking at their resumes. They're looking at those kind of hard things to look for, but that you're wanting, that we got from you in the interview process. So they would be going through that. You would be doing, if you so choose, individual meetings with them. You don't all have to do that. So if only two of you want that or three of you, that's fine. I would arrange it so you can come here and kind of see all three in a row. I have a very large spreadsheet while they're here of where everybody has to be that's color coded. And so not for you, yeah. But you can also do a community meeting if you like. That gives an opportunity for employees and community members to be able to come in and meet with them. They're all three here at once. And so it's just a kind of mingling. You all can walk around casually and talk with them, as well as anyone from the community or employees. Some cities really get a lot of employees that come out as well to talk with them.
So how does the community meeting work? Would it be just like individually they'd have their time that they're there to meet?
No, maybe a
or
reception's a better word for
like
it.
yeah,
So it's
reception
kind of
with
like, you
everybody?
know, you set up some, you have a room where people are just walking around. It's usually about an hour. I mean, you don't need a long time for it. And you could do it in here. You could move it over somewhere else where there's space, however you want to do that. And really, there's no agenda. It's just up to them to go talk to people and people to talk to them. So very casual. We usually do that right before maybe they're going to go into interviews, possibly with you all, if you're going to do group or just however we schedule it. So there's that. That's an option for you. A lot of cities like to do. And then the last thing is the California Psychological Inventory, the CPI. So they would do that online, and then it's analyzed by a professional, not someone at MTAS. And then what would happen is once you all have gone through the interview process, I would provide you the next day a report of the assessment center results and the CPI results. So you would review those after you've done your interview, prior to your decision.
Have you ever found the CPI just kind of put somebody that you didn't think had this certain personality just kind of surprises you about something?
I've been surprised at times sometimes people come off one way and the CPI shows them like, this person's not a good leader. They're not good in teamwork. So I have seen that happen, and I have seen people, I mean, a lot of times you might have one or two that rise to the top, but I have seen it where like one's just really high on leadership and teamwork. And I would say all of these things I listed are all tools, is how I explain it. And you put them all together to make a decision. You don't base it on one or the other. You kind of composite. I don't know, did you do CPIs, Mr. Moore, in Athens and find them useful?
Yep.
Yeah. Ooh, Jared.
And the additional cost on that?
Yeah, those are about 250 each,
Okay.
or 200 each, I'm not sure, yeah. And that's directly to the consultant. But I would I would help facilitate that for you. So
That's money well spent.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I think it is. I don't think it's much, and you really, I find,
Well,
get good
the
feedback.
question
on
I
it.
would just ask with it is, have you ever seen it? Maybe the results have surprised you, but has it ever even swayed a decision? Or do people usually?
It
from
does sway
interviews-
decisions,
Okay.
yeah. I think sometimes where it really comes in handy, one, he will say at times like, this person should not be a leader, like they are not fit to be in management. And I've seen that a couple of times. And then I have also seen where it's almost like a tiebreaker, where you're really like, I don't know who to pick, but man, this person did a lot better on this in the assessment center, maybe. More like that. It's not gonna be, like I said, the single thing you use to choose someone. Because also each of you are gonna look for different things. So one of you may really want teamwork out of this person, and one person may want, independent decision-making. I mean, you want all those things, but something individually may speak to you as well from it. And he breaks it down.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
This moving forward to when they come and we have the interviews, and this, I could be asking a dumb question, but,
Go ahead.
so something that would be important to me would be to have a couple of questions for the candidates that they have ahead of time. And the reason I find it interesting to hear what candidates have to say when they are speaking off the cuff, like what would they do in this situation? One thing I'm interested in is seeing, can a candidate do research? Will they do research? Will they talk about data? And in order to get there, it's important that they have at least a question or two ahead of time. So that's my only question. I would love to see that piece, like what can they do? Like, can they come up with a plan? Because I don't want a town manager that's just going to do everything off the cuff. I want somebody that knows how to collect data and read it and plan it and analyze it.
So one thing you could do, I mean, it's just an option. I'd totally be welcome to you giving me some questions to use, but you could also, since you've done some interviewing with these candidates, have almost less questions and like a 10-minute presentation or 5-minute, you could do whatever, something like that.
That'd be kind of an interesting exercise.
They will in the assessment center, typically an exercise we do is a presentation where we give them a scenario of something really happening here. And then they will come up with their plan or presentation. And I know Mr. Moore sat through several of my assessment centers and seen that. And that's really telling because they know what's needed in the town. How well do they actually get real scenarios for that town? So we do that in the assessment center, but you all don't see that. But you could very easily do some type of short presentation.
What do y'all think about having given them a couple of?
I
at
like
least
that.
questions?
What I was thinking is something along the lines of, hey, come with one proposal for budget time or something like that.
Have
And-
something real.
But it sounds like they already kind of do that in the assessment center. So I don't want to just pile it on if it's already something that they're preparing. And
I was kind of thinking about a legal scenario that Harry could maybe look and see if there's any legal scenarios that have, faced, that a town has faced with their town manager and how, would you deal with that? But,
Or just like
we have
problem
different,
solving.
I just want to see what they can do with information they have ahead of time. I think that is, I know
I
for
like
me,
that.
I work better when I have information ahead of time. I can solve problems, but I solve them better when I have more information than I would if I was just speaking off the seat of my pants. So,
Well, if you have an idea, maybe if you all in
Okay.
the next few days send that to me and I can work with Mr. Cash, Mr. Moore, Mr. Mitchell. And we can talk about a scenario maybe to send to them.
Okay.
And I'm assuming like maybe a shorter presentation, right? Like a
Yeah.
10-minute thing.
Yeah,
Okay. So you can still ask some questions. Okay.
that's it, thanks.
I like that idea. It's great. Okay, so the group interview, how about, and we're moving forward with Assessment Center, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you, and you can individually, I can reach out to you and you can let me know if you want to do individual interviews. They are pretty helpful, especially if you have particular things you're interested in. Community meeting,
Yeah.
I'd like to do
I
all of
like
that.
the idea of that,
Okay.
yeah.
and then we'll do the CPI.
Okay.
Any other, we are looking at right now, and I can, as we did before, if you like, email you all for your schedule. We were looking at the week of January 31st. That would then give you an opportunity at the first meeting in February to potentially make a decision.
Okay.
So I can reach out to each of you. We try to cram it all into about a day and a half or 2 days because you are flying people in, so we try to do it as quick as we can. Any questions for me?
Are you looking for in the daytime, evening, weekends?
So you're
What?
in, so the reception would be in the afternoon, evening. We try to do it when, so people can come after work. And then your group interviews, it's typically in the evening. You can do it however your schedules allow.
Okay.
Only having 3, I mean, it's only going to take you 3.5 hours to 4, no more, so.
Okay.
Right.
A suggestion that has been made as these people are coming in, we have 2 B&Bs up here, I think. Well, we have
Mhm.
several, but to try to have them stay here in town versus downtown. And I know there's not a whole lot of options up here, but it was a suggestion that was given by a resident that we try to use as many.
Maybe we recommend it, but I think I wouldn't force somebody to do
I know
something they're
that-
just putting it out there.
uncomfortable with
In
before they
another
have an
town,
interview.
Someone wanted to put them in Airbnbs. Number one, the cost varies a lot.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, yeah, some people weren't as comfortable, and it was like, how do you pick? But it's something for sure that's up to the town, how they want to handle that. But, Look at 'em.
I just think that it should at least be looked at.
yeah,
Um,
if they even have availability.
If they
Yeah.
even have
Yeah, yeah.
availability, that sort of thing.
Let them stay in the spaceship house.
Yeah. I mean, if you want as the consultant, I'll go to the bed and breakfast and stay with them, and so I can interact with breakfast.
Put them all in the
test 'em.
I'm
spaceship
willing
house
to do
together and
that.
see.
The one other thing I
is a
neglected to
Airbnb.
mention that they will do is they will have a tour of the town.
Yeah.
That with usually either a department head or someone in the town will give them a tour.
Very good.
Awesome.
So, anything else? So look for an email from me for your schedule. We'll try to get that set up as quickly as possible because I've got to line up assessors and notify the candidates of when they'll be coming in. Okay?
Okay.
Reach out if you have questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right. I've mixed my last meeting with this one. Okay. We are now on the resolutions. The first resolution is a resolution to rescind resolution number 2021-77 that was signed in error. So it kind of speaks for itself. We signed a resolution by mistake and would like to correct that mistake by rescinding that resolution.
All right, a motion to approve.
All right. Any discussion? Just so we're all clear, what resolution was signed in error? I know we signed one. I
was
don't remember
the-
now which one was signed in error.
Was it was the combined
Combined,
firefighter, like removing firefighter 2, doing,
In which tonight you have separate
Yeah.
resolution.
Okay, all right.
yeah, so, yeah, that was,
Okay, so we signed a resolution for both of those when we shouldn't have. And
Yeah.
so, all right, we got a motion and a second. We all know what we're dealing with. Anybody, or all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No, okay. That resolution passes. I guess these were attached here to tell us which ones they were. The next resolution is a resolution, let's see. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, are we ready to talk about these two resolutions?
I kind of think, I mean, I don't know. Let's see if we have a motion.
The first one is the one, amending the pay scale to eliminate the firefighter 2 position. And the second one is to change the grade for the captain training officer from 9 to 10. I didn't think we were really ready, at least for that one, maybe for the other one. So does anyone want to bring these up?
I mean, I'll make a motion, and if there's a second, we can move forward. If not, we'll table it till next time around.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion.
All right, I'll go ahead and read the first resolution.
Okay.
It's a resolution amending the official pay scale of the town of Sickle Mountain. And this is to amend it to eliminate the firefighter 2 position,
Okay, I'll make a motion.
or title, job title from the scale.
So I'll second that.
A motion to approve?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
motion to.
All right. All right, any discussion?
Okay, so, and maybe I shouldn't say motion. So here's my thought on this, and we can have this discussion twice with the next one. Right now, we have enlisted MTAS to do an organizational study of the fire department, as well as, like, I think we need to look at the pay scale again some more as well. I feel like passing either of these is a piecemeal solution to a problem that we have not identified. And I don't think that that's probably a good move. But to keep on tabling these is making it so that we don't have to identify the problem or identify the issue at hand.
Mhm.
And I think that we won't be able to really get a handle on this until we get the information back from the MTAS organizational study. I had done a little bit of research on the next resolution, which I'll be happy to share when that one's read, if you would like. But I think tabling it is not the way of doing it, because then we just leave it hanging out there. I think that I will not vote for this. And if I can find 2 other council members not to vote for it, then we can get an entire view of what's going on and maybe come up with some long-lasting solutions instead of piecemealing together something that seems like a solution, something more long-term.
I agree. I don't think there's any harm in not removing the firefighter 2 job title because it's not occupied right now. So-
But there's also no harm in letting it hang out there either until we get,
No, I'm saying
yeah.
no harm in not removing it. Did I speak? I mean, I misspoke.
And I could have misunderstood you, sorry.
So if this is denied, I think that's no harm.
Okay,
Any further discussion?
I agree. I think I'm not comfortable. I would like more information from the MTAS study. I'm not even comfortable to vote one way or the other on either of these tonight. So, and I agree, tabling is just kicking the can down the road when what we're really waiting for is better information.
Well,
And we can bring up changes from that when that comes.
Yeah, we can have this same resolution later on if we decide it's necessary
Exactly.
at a later date.
so it'd be kind of a moot exercise to pass these at all
That is,
tonight, because we're getting ready to conduct these departmental studies,
Right.
which will give us more comprehensive, objective, whatever.
Yeah. I think what Elizabeth is
information.
saying, she's proposing that she would vote them down. And then after we do the study,
Revisit the topic.
if somebody can bring these back up if it's necessary.
I mean, if
Rather
this
than
is-
continuing to pass these to the next meeting and to the next meeting and to the next meeting, let's resolve them now, one way or the other. And then if we deny these resolutions, then we can always bring the issue back up later once the MTAS study is done. Which
I think
makes sense.
that's not a bad idea for the first one. For the second one, I would like to know if there are consequences to us voting it down tonight. You know, I'm concerned about.
Let's, hold on, I don't want to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but
go ahead.
let's take care of this one first,
Yep,
and then
that
we'll talk
works.
about that
Yeah.
on the second one.
I think the first one doesn't have consequences that could be detrimental to our town,
All right.
so.
Any other discussion on the first resolution, the one that's on the table? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the resolution, meaning you want to pass this resolution?
No.
Anybody opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Or no, I guess.
Did you vote?
I'm
Yes or no?
very, wait, can you say that again? I'm
All right,
confused.
if you want
What we're
to
doing.
pass the resolution, which means that you want to remove the firefighter 2 position from the pay scale right now, then you would vote yes on the motion. If
Okay.
you want to
Just
leave it as it is,
as
you would
is
vote
until
no or
I
abstain, I
understand.
guess.
Okay.
Can we just do it a different way? Like just say, we're removing this. We don't need to vote yes or no on it.
That I don't
Is that
know. That's a procedural question for,
I think it's been brought up now. You've got a motion and a
Yeah.
second.
Well,
so
I
you
mean,
need
if
to
we
vote on-
decided,
on
okay,
this.
we're gonna.
So
Well,
if
all
I-
right, yeah,
if-
you're right,
if-
yeah.
if
Unless
we
I
just didn't read
withdraw
the
my
resolution,
motion.
what happens to it?
I mean, it's still out there. You could move to table it, which doesn't mean
No.
it comes up the next time. It means somewhere down the road, somebody can move to bring it back up. Or you could do what you're in the process of doing is move to approve this, vote it down, then it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it can always,
Can be brought up
it can be brought up again later.
whenever
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still the
Okay.
same thing.
you feel like it's right, yeah.
All
Okay.
right. All right, so anyway, we have,
So I'm a nay.
okay, so the resolution, the motion fails.
Okay.
All right. The next resolution is a resolution amending the official pay scale of the town of Signal Mountain. This is to change the pay grade for the fire department captain/training officer from grade 9 to grade 10. Do we have a motion to approve? All right, and if we don't have a motion, it just fails for lack of a motion.
Correct.
All right, there we go. The next motion, or resolution, sorry, is a resolution approving an amended and restated employment agreement between the town of Signal Mountain and Mitchell Moore and authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement. I know that what this is about, I believe Andrew maybe put the resolution on the docket, or no?
It wasn't me.
You did? All right, Elizabeth, I'll just let you explain it for if anyone needs an explanation.
Okay, so initially, when we went through contract negotiations with Mr. Moore, he had said that he only wanted his gas costs covered coming, instead of doing like a daily. So basically, we worked out, he had suggested that 2 days worth of travel would cover the actual expense of traveling.
Two per week.
Yeah, 2 per week. Thanks, Harry. So he started with that intent and quickly found out 2 days is not enough to cover the actual expense of him traveling to town. So I put in here, and I had kind of worked some numbers, because it was like, do we add 1 day and make it retroactive, or do we add 2 days from here forward with the understanding that gas prices could be more expensive coming up. I mean, I looked at this like mid-December, so, and prices have gone up a bit since then. So I asked for this resolution to make sure that Mr. Moore's actual expense of coming into town every day and back home again is covered.
And so this is essentially changing it from 2 days to 4 days.
Yes,
Of travel expense or mileage reimbursement.
yes.
Okay.
And it would be adding 2 days from today forward, not retroactively,
Okay.
since he started employment here.
Okay. And I take it Mr. Moore is comfortable with this?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So I'll make a motion.
All right.
approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Do we need any discussion or further discussion?
I would just say that, put it in perspective, 5 days is really would be customary.
Right.
But Mr. Moore is doing us a favor.
Right. I think he definitely did us a favor by assuming that he might be able to cover his expenses with just 2 days of travel reimbursement. And I think it's perfectly reasonable and maybe more fair to the town to increase that to 4 days. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, this resolution passes. And that is all for resolutions. We have the no ordinances on the docket. And so we're now at a time for discussion. We have a discussion regarding the WWTA Signal Mountain representative.
The board has never officially decided by vote who will take that position. And we need to know who you're going to appoint.
Right. Did we talk about, I can't remember if we talked, does anybody remember if they,
I think we talked about appointing Hannah.
well, I thought it was Loretta, not Hannah.
Sorry, Loretta.
I threw
She
Loretta
meant
under
you.
the bus.
She's like, please don't put me on that.
Now we're throwing Hannah under.
She's looking at
Loretta
Hannah.
Hopper. Mrs. Hopper.
Yes.
But I had not consulted Loretta about that before I threw her under the bus in the middle of a meeting.
Right.
So I think
So have
The
you
plan was to
consulted
ask
with her
her.
since then?
Have you
I
given that some
haven't.
consideration?
I can certainly consider it, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So do we need to make a motion now, or would that be?
I think it's time to make a motion
Okay.
and make it official.
All right, so I move that we have Loretta be the person that's going to be our WWTA Signal Mountain representative.
I'll second that. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion needed? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right, next is fireworks report.
This is just to get it on the record of what y'all already know. To do fireworks on the 4th of July is a minimum of $25,000 in expense. And it's too late to get it scheduled for this year. You can get it at a lesser cost if you move away from the 4th of July. They will shoot a lesser amount, dollar-wise, but you get a lesser of a show too for that amount of money. So just so you know, and we contacted Pyro out of La Follette, who does UT, who does Washington, DC, and New York and Philadelphia, and pretty big outfit. And I happen to know some of them, and that's the best I could do for you. And I just wanted that on the record.
All right.
The 4th is on a Monday.
that's what I was looking at.
Mhm.
So how far away do you have to get for it to be less?
The third?
The second?
They will shoot maybe as low as $5,000.
What about the 2nd of July? That's a Saturday. That's,
But not around the 4th of July.
oh, yeah, that's.
You're saying like if we moved it to
gotta
Labor
get
Day
it.
or
If you,
Memorial
if you
Day
moved
or
it to
something.
Thanksgiving, or if you moved it to Veterans Day, or one of those, where everybody's not trying to get them scheduled, then they shoot the lesser shows.
Okay.
And what was our annual contribution previously to the Lions Club? Was it
I
5?
think it was $4,000.
I think it's,
That's how I remember
I
it.
think 5, seems like we paid 10 one year because we missed the year before.
Okay.
But I think it's 4 in this year's budget. I think it's what's in there.
So it
Maybe it was
doesn't,
4 previously.
doesn't really sound like this is
Feasible.
feasible, but something kind of maybe to talk to some community partners about if there's organizations or businesses that want to sponsor something like this for 2023. Now is the time for them to really think about it and step up to the plate so that we can get somebody in. I mean, in the past, the way the Lions Club in the town kind of worked hand in hand in getting this going. I think what we would need is other organizations and business partners to come together and to partner with the town if we expect to have future fireworks shows. So I don't know if there's, I mean, I kind of think January, second week of January might be, for a 2023 show, might be a little bit too early to start working on those partnerships, but that's something that I think we need to start discussing and looking at if there are partners out there that want to do this.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Is there a committee, one of our committees or boards that could maybe take up the idea and formulate a subcommittee or maybe, to underwrite or something?
How active is our beautification? Because fireworks are beautiful, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that kind of,
Or rec or parks.
Yeah, parks.
I was
and-
thinking about
or rec.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
maybe, not that they would have to assume responsibility for it, but
No.
that they could sort of take it on as a task and see about forming a subcommittee of interested
I like-
people that, I mean, I think there might be people that would be interested in,
I like the parks and rec idea. Who's the liaison?
Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, I would leave it to Jared's decision on which one, but the rec board's a little more active than the parks board. I would say the rec board's probably a
Okay.
good group to help spearhead that.
Do they have regular, how often do they meet, the
Once a
rec
month.
board? Okay, so at the next meeting, you can just ask them if they'd be willing to take on the task of
Yeah,
trying
we can
to
ask them.
put a,
They
it's really just,
they might say no.
yeah. But it's, I mean, it's about soliciting, businesses to make contributions and.
it'd be a short-term commitment and not a huge time-consuming kind of thing, but just something nice to do for the mountain.
Yeah.
So then there's going to become the question, like if we find these partners and we have businesses that want to do this, do they have to, this is a question probably for Harry, do they have to set up their own entity or whatever to collect the money? I mean, how does that work? Because can the town just accept donations for a specific reason like that?
I would think that the town could set up a separate fund and segregate that money
Yeah.
Okay.
specifically for,
I mean, that's a discussion down the road, but I just,
Right.
again, want to be
Yeah.
aware of what has to be done, I guess.
The way we handled it in Athens, we established a park foundation years ago, patterned after the one in Wheeling, West Virginia. And we ran all that, any money went through that foundation, and then the foundation gave the money to the city.
Okay.
It will cost you $15,000 or so to set up a foundation, just so you know some numbers. But that is one way that people do that, towns do it.
Did that foundation do things other than?
Yes,
I assume
but they did a lot more, yep.
Okay.
That might be something to talk about in the strategic plan.
Possibly.
Mhm. And we could also, I mean, I guess we could ask, can we ask the city of Walden if they want to participate? Or is that impermissible for us to work in conjunction with another?
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
We probably need an interlocal agreement, right?
I mean,
Probably have to.
Alright.
yeah, the issue would be like, I think we need to pursue finding sponsors first rather than, I view it as a mountaintop benefit. It's not just Walden and Signal. I mean,
Yeah.
lots of people go to that fireworks show and barbecue and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
let's remove the funding from specific groups and let the mountaintop hopefully fund it.
Yeah, okay.
Is my thought on it.
All right, well, at least we'll get the rec board started on the idea and see where we go from there. All right. That takes care of our discussions. Moving on to the manager's report.
We have a short one. We have employees either out or have been out due to COVID or having been in contact with others that had COVID. We are trying to get back up to speed, but it's a real issue. It's something that everyone needs to take serious on what's going on with COVID right now. I'd tell people to, if they're not vaccinated, to do so as far as being safe for them and others. Adam's last day will be Friday. He did an outstanding job for the town of Signal Mountain and for the utility while he was here. And he will be missed. We have posted the job opening. As of this afternoon, I have already 2 resumes.
Okay, that's good.
Carol is out on FMLA, and we're waiting to hear from her as far as what her next steps are, and whenever I find out, I'll let you know. Of course, I'm in the process of putting information together for the Town Council January 20th work session. It's only 4 pages. No, I'm kidding about that. But if you do have anything at all that you want to make sure that you're able to discuss or at least see on the list, because I really don't think you're going to be able to, in one evening, tackle everything that probably needs to be tackled, because you need to talk in depth about some of these topics, and you need to be honest with each other and let your feelings be known, whatever that might be on whatever the topic might be. I'm in the process of reviewing resumes and hopefully interviewing for the executive administrative assistant's position. And the other position that we're advertising for is a finance clerk. And right now that's kind of on hold with Carol's situation and everything. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you very much. So to echo Mr. Moore, for those out there who haven't been vaccinated, it's easy to do. I know you can go to CVS and get vaccinated. It is a good thing to do for yourself and for your friends and family. For us, if we have things we want to put on the work session agenda, I'm sure that emailing Mr. Moore would be the best way to get that information to him. So, other business, communications and reports from the mayor and council.
December 21st, I had my first TPO meeting. It was good. I mean, a very interesting process, and as long as I have my index of what all the letters mean when they're speaking, I'm good to go. It can follow along pretty well. But yeah.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Maybe I've just forgotten, but when are we going to discuss board appointments?
Next meeting.
Next meeting?
I mean, I saw it on
He
the,
doesn't read my text.
Okay.
I saw it on the agenda for the next meeting.
I thought I remembered something, but I didn't remember. Okay.
I do.
So are we opening up applications again? for-
They're still open.
Yeah, okay.
They're still open.
Still open.
And that's, we're getting the message out about them, but you could look at the town website to see what board openings are available.
Yes.
And if anybody out there would like to, or look at the camera, would like to apply for a board position, please go to the town website, see what there is, and submit an application. All right, we were supposed to have this is reports from committees and boards. We were supposed to have a planning commission on the day that it was supposed to have sleet and snow up here, and we canceled it. I'm not sure the weather wasn't that bad. I was gone all day, but by the time I got home, it was all dry. So we
Yeah.
canceled it maybe for no reason, but out of an abundance of caution. The only thing on there was to discuss one item, the definition of a brew pub, I think.
Yeah.
So we decided we could put that off till the next meeting. And that's all I have. Anyone else? All right, we have a work session Thursday, January 20th at 6 p.m. Location currently the MACC, is that going to stay there? Or we talked about also doing it somewhere else, I believe, but
Station 2, the community room at Station 2 has been used for similar things, but I mean, I'm okay with it either place. It might be easier if, for live streaming purposes, if it's at the MACC and there's somebody at the MACC that can do that, then that's probably the way we should go. I do have a question about location at the MACC. Over the past couple of years, there's been several types of meetings over there in the theater, and I think like if we could get into, probably the conference room might be a better setting for this, because it's a giant room, it's a gorgeous room, but I think that it's certainly big enough. Okay, wonderful. I just didn't want to be up on stage. My real intent there.
all right. So we're still on for the MACC. And then our next meeting will be January 24th. So if that's all, we are adjourned. Thank you.